Hello, I have tweaked my back, so have to spend lots of periods standing up. So I thought, what the heck? I just watched a Bookless Pete do a an old timey book tag, the Classics book tag, which was this is so old. It was taken from started off as a blog post, and evolved from there. This is it's a books world. Blog which came up with this tag. And yeah, I thought it's like, okay, I don't think I've done this tag before. I checked. I don't think so. I may be repeating myself. I mean, I'm always endlessly repeating myself, but let's get into it. All right. Prompt number one, an overhyped classic you really didn't like. For me, that would be Kurt Vonnegut's Slaughterhouse 5, my first and only Vonnegut. Just not for me. I found his signature phrase, and so it goes. I think it's and so it goes. Jesus, hopefully it is. I just found that really tedious after a while. I found the kind of backwards in time stuff. I think it was backwards in time. Jesus, it's funny. Books that you really just don't click with, they also really don't stick with you at all. But yeah, that would definitely be in the nah. I have no idea what people see in it. And I'm sure there's people out there who have no clue why I love the books I love too. So, you know, it's a large reading world. Number two is favorite time period to read about. And I think I divide this into two because I love reading people like Trollope and Austen and Dickens and authors like that, but they're like contemporary authors writing about their own times. They were kind of modern authors for their own times. I don't know if is Austen Victoria, whatever period she might be considered of, but mostly Victorian. Robert Louis Stevenson, a lot of people in that period. I guess Oscar Wilde, various authors like that. So there's that kind of the time period. And then when it's, contemporary people of today writing about in the past, which I think is a different beast. Probably it's in the recent years, it's been the Tudors, the Tudor period of Henry VIII, very much with Hilary Mantel and her Thomas Cromwell series, starting off with Wolf Hall, and kind of an offshoot from that, getting into C.J. Sanson's Shardlake mystery series, starting off with Disillusion. And I think there's 7 books in the series, and I'm working my way steadily through. I give myself one of those a year, that's probably a period where I've seemed to have spent a lot of time fiction wise just by the dint of both Mantel and Sanson. Say it's funny because I don't really read that many mysteries, but the other series that, like, I'd say, oh, ancient Rome would be another period, and I guess that's I Claudius and that, but probably even more so, I have to say, would be Lindsay Davis's the Marcus Didius Falco series, starting off with Silver Pigs, which I really enjoyed when I was into it. I think I only got up like about 9 into it. The series went on for like 20. I felt like she got repetitive going further. God, I think Lindsay in this case is a she. I believe so. Felt like that series got repetitive going on, and I kind of tapped out after number 9. So I didn't get all the way through the series, but the ones that I did do, I really enjoyed being in that time period. So yeah. So Tudor, ancient Rome, probably periods where I like. Yeah, and I think about other books that I've read about. I read a book about Catullus in ancient Rome. Catullus in ancient Rome. So yeah, those would probably be the two. Number 3 here, I can be a little bit shorter. Fairy tales. What is your favorite kind of classic, favorite fairy tale? I don't think I really have one. I've never been into fairy tales. I would go my snarky thing would be like, oh, well, I like the Infernal Desire Machines of Dr. Hoffman by Angela Carter, because I think Carter used a lot of kind of fairy tale, kind of that kind of primal kind of imagery in her works. But most likely I'm probably more into myths. I don't think I've ever I remember picking up, like, I was like hanging out in a university library, and I got really into reading Edith Hamilton's mythology, her stuff on like Greek myths of kind of talking, telling the Greek myths. I really, really, really enjoyed that. I should really pick that up again, of things that I should do. So yeah, that would probably be my answer for my non-answer for fairy tales. Is like I'm more into myths. Number four is what is the most embarrassed classic is the most embarrassed or embarrassing classic you haven't read yet? I don't think I'm ever embarrassed. Um, I would probably go with, like, I'm embarrassed that I haven't gotten to War and Peace yet. I really loved Tolstoy's Anna Karenina. So that would be the one I'll go with. Like, oh, I should really get to that. I shouldn't let a decade go by or something before I get to a War and Peace. I'll give myself a 10-year, 10-year 10-year cutoff there where I need to get it done, but haven't done yet. Number five, top five classics you would like to read soon. Well, I'm in the middle of my 1901 project, which is kind of reading in the period of 1890 to 1910. So there's a whole bunch of classics to get to. Some of which I have gotten to, like Dorian Gray and the Picture of Dorian Gray and a couple of other things. In that period, A Heart of Darkness, I think I've done. But like Kim and the Jungle Book, Kipling will be more I read about that period and about how Kipling conducted himself, the more I'm going to have to say about that. It's going to be interesting when I actually go back and actually read some more of his books, because I have read Kipling and enjoyed it before, but then realizing what kind of an asshole he was. Yeah, interesting. The Red Bear Badge of Courage, The Time Machine, the Interpretations of Dreams by Sigmund Freud, Buddenbrooks, and Lord Jim. There's a rattling off of a little bit of a list of classics that I intend to read from that time period. But I also intend to read a lot of trash. Oh, gotta have the trash in there, or else it just makes the classics taste even better, hopefully. Number six, favorite modern book / series based on a classic. I think I'll go with a very obvious choice is the Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. That's probably, that kind of kind of the kind of romance between two Greek dudes is just like really well done. I'm not so much into Circe by her. Circe did not do it for me. Number seven, the favorite modern favorite movie version / TV series based on a classic. I'll probably just give you like the list of Stanley Kubrick movies: Clockwork Orange, 2001, Shining, Eyes Wide Shut. He seems to be somebody who, it's amazing when you get somebody who is a great filmmaker to do that kind of adaptation, because they may piss off the author, as he did in Stephen King's thing, but he turns them into actual movies that may or may not resemble that closely, or could resemble quite closely the works he's working. So yeah, definitely you get somebody who's like got a vision to that. Number eight, worst classic to movie adaptation. Yeah, I've seen, like, people who like rag on David Lynch's Dune, which, it's like, yeah, it's not a great movie, but it's an interesting filmmaker making a bad movie, which in itself is kind of interesting. It's like that makes it kind of fascinating. I think the worst kind of offense you can have is when you make a movie where you go, well, that was boring. And for me, that would be John Carter of Mars, the Disney adaptation of A Princess of Mars by Edgar Rice Burroughs. I think the cardinal sin you can make for kind of a rip-roaring pulp adventure fun, just got, it's the energy of Edgar Rice Burroughs more than anything, that kind of propulsive kind of energy, funness of Edgar Rice Burroughs. That if you don't do anything else, you need to get that. And they made him mopey. And I mean, I think they made him mopey to try and struggle with sort of dealing with the problematic parts of any work that was written from that time. There's always going to be that, but they decided to make him kind of mopey and brooding, and kind of just drained all the fun out of the very heart of that movie. So that would be my thing, where you just like you miss the spirit. You miss the spirit, and you make people think that Edgar Rice Burroughs is boring. He's a lot of things. He ain't boring. So yes, yes. Number 9, your favorite editions you'd like to collect more classics from. If I was still collecting paper books, which I still have quite a few still here, it would be Penguins, because they have not so much their introductions, but just like all the notes and explanations and things like that they have, like kind of little support that way. I never read the introduction to a classic, because they just for some reason assume, well, it's a classic, so we're just going to tell you the entire story in the introduction, and kind of rob you of that, like, oh, I'm just reading this for the first time, I'm kind of going in blind. It's like, yes, it's one thing to give you a little, like, oh, maybe you should know this and this and this, but maybe they do that, but they also try and just spoil the entire book for you. And it's like, it's not like spoil, but it's just like drain the fun out of, like, oh, I'm about to discover this book for the first time. It's like these introductions are written by people who's obviously, like, maybe their life work was learning everything about Frankenstein. So they've kind of lost touch with somebody just coming to a book for the first time who doesn't want the whole plot and every reveal talked about ad nauseum in kind of a boring way a lot of times. So for me, at this point in my life, my favorite additions to stuff are Project Gutenberg editions, electronic editions that I just put on my Kindle, on my Kindle, and read for free, and do a really good job. I don't get the notes. I usually just end up going to Wikipedia for the notes. That's how I get my introduction. And you know what? Wikipedia, it has a section which is plot, and I just skip over that and try and read everything else. And then if I get confused in the middle of a book because I'm a dullard, I can pop that open to see, like, what the hell's going on here. Sometimes that happens. Less with older works that have actually survived the time. Number 10 is your underhyped classic that you'd recommend to everyone. Oh, I would never recommend something to everyone. I think something that appealed to everyone is just wrong. It's just wrong. That's just going to be a book that will please no one. So I will recommend underhyped to me classic, which it would be Arthur Machen, The Great God Pan, or The Hill of Dreams. Maybe The Hill of Dreams even more so, actually, of the two, of somebody who's really into kind of pulpy, weird fiction. This is, I think it's said that, like, this was a big influence on someone like H.P. Lovecraft. He's he's not, he does not seem, at least in these books, to be a raging racist like H.P. Lovecraft was. But yeah, just really weird, gnarly, maybe slightly overwritten, not H.P. Lovecraft overwritten, but kind of just odd kind of pulpy classics that were written at the turn of the like in the either just before 1900 or just after 1900. Arthur Machen is one of these authors that I'm probably actually going to go find other works of his to read for my 1901 project, because he's totally up my alley and it gives me a chance to read more of him. Everything I've heard says that The Hill of Dreams is probably considered his masterpiece. This weird descent into madness, perhaps, of an artist, impoverished artist at that time. Really fun, weird fiction. I would definitely go for him for a classic. Not a classic for everybody. Run away from those. Run away from something that's a classic for everyone. That's you want the classic that is a classic for me. All right. Thank you, Bookless Pete, for doing this tag and reminding me of it, or bringing it to my attention for the first time. I've been around for a while, so you'd think I would have seen this before. Maybe I did. Maybe I did do it, and I just missed it wherever I put it. I think this is a different version for me, so helps me forget my aching back for a little while. Now I'm gonna go lie down. All right, more videos later.